Welcome into I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. This is part three, final bowl game preview. We did three chunks. Hopefully, we're helping you make some money because we've actually been red hot in these. We'll total this up at the end, but this is our final one. We're taking you through the end of bowl season, and we'll continue to go on through our college football playoff stuff as we have that coming out later this week before the games start. Tyson, I know you're hurting right now, folks. This is the weekend of the fantasy football championship games, and Tyson's a big fantasy guy. He just got an absolute kick in the you know where, and he's gonna troop through though. That's what we do here. And I said what I said.
Yeah, it's caught probably the worst beat of my lifetime, up by 10 with playing Jameer Gibbs. He scores a 9-point touchdown. Jake Bates, my kicker, misses the extra point. I lose the game. I lose the money. But, Brad, you say final bowl season preview. I say finally. I'm ready to be done betting college football. We got to end on a high note. But this has been a long year for me here at this pod with these college football ones.
Yeah, and there's last year that was me. You were hot, and we have reversed course here this season. So hopefully we'll find next year that we can get hot at the same time. That's the play. But let's go through it. We're gonna get through this. If this is the first time joining us, what we do is we preview the game, tell you who's in, who's out, who we expect to opt out potentially. Who's on the table, and we'll kind of give you some advanced stats to look ahead. And then at the end, we're gonna give you our picks, who we like in these games. So let's start here. Alabama, Michigan. This is in the ReliaQuest, 12 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN on December 31st. So this is an early one, folks. This is an interesting one here. I mean, I got to say, a lot of opt-outs, a lot of transfer stuff. So let's go through Alabama. Running back Justice Haynes, he's gone. He actually signed with Michigan in the transfer portal. Four of their wide receivers, Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice, Emmanuel Henderson, five-star Caleb Odom, they're out. Outside linebacker Keanu Coate, a tight end, defensive lineman. So there's a few guys here in the starting cornerback, Devontae Smith. They have entered the transfer portal. There's a few opt-outs. Also, they'll play Jalen Milroe, Jihad Campbell, the starting left guard, safety Malachi Moore, who's huge, Damani Jackson, and their center. So there's guys, potentially popped out. We'll see. But as for Michigan, the opt-outs are huge. Mason Graham, their star defensive tackle, star defensive end Josiah Stewart, Will Johnson, best cornerback, potentially in this draft class. Colston Loveland, who's a top three guy. Both their running backs, Edwards and Khalil Mullins, and a starting left tackle. You have a few other guys in the transfer portal. It's starting wide receiver and their starting center. So this is Tyson. I mean, this is quite a bit of people leaving here.
Yeah, this is just a spring game, basically, is what we're getting. This is like, you're going to see one before the season starts, but this is like we're going to learn a lot about who these teams are going to be next year. I think more so for Michigan. I think that's kind of exciting if you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, because the game doesn't matter for you necessarily. It doesn't really matter for Alabama, but boy, is the internet going to get hot if Michigan beats Bama here in this game. I'm looking forward. That's what I would like to happen because, Brad, the discourse has been ridiculous over the last couple of days. Even it just keeps going and going and going. And you mentioned some of the opt-outs. We got to say real fast, I sat here a week ago and was like, I love the way Cam Ward went about everything and making the jump from the FCS and then graduating at Washington State and then transferring. That was crap. Did quit on the team at halftime. Like that was bad. Hopefully that doesn't happen here, but I had to get that in.
That's it. See, that's interesting because I didn't feel any way about it. I'm like,
I don't like it.
he could have easily just not played, and everybody was like,
Right.
well, But I mean, the halftime thing was strange. He got the record and kind of bowed out. But I saw people online, Tyson, that was like, he's going to have to answer for this for the NFL. I'm like, no, he's not. These guys don't care at all. Like, this is the new part of it. Like, come on.
No, we just got to know beforehand. Like everybody was cool with Neighbors breaking the LSU record, and it was like he's going to get his 28 yards and he's going to be done. There was luckily they hit the over way before Cam Ward decided to hit the bench.
Yeah, that was nice for me. That's for sure. So here, Tyson, I mean, it's going to be hard to project. I mean, 6th in EPA per rush, 10th in EPA per dropback for Bama's offense. We think offensively it's going to stay the same. Now, you point out what happened with Cam Ward. A lot of these guys maybe do the half thing. We'll see. I'm not quite sure. I think Milroe wants to kind of end on a good note. Defensively for Michigan, 18th in EPA per rush, 28th in EPA per dropback. Again, you're losing a ton of guys, so I'm not quite sure how they're going to look. So that's a question mark. On the flip side, Michigan's offense, 32nd EPA per rush, 73rd in EPA per dropback. I think that's going to be a mess. Bama's defense, 10th in EPA per rush, 6th in EPA per dropback. So there's question marks across the board. I think we get a little bit more stability with Alabama and their players who are going to play and not opt out. But that's a projection right now because, like Tyson said, Cam Ward, we thought he was going to play, and then at halftime he bowed out.
We'll find out. I mean, I guess we'll find out in the third quarter, but I think you're right. I think Milroe kind of wants to end this thing the right way.
Moving on to Louisville and Washington, Tyson, this is a very interesting game because, shockingly, I know people are shocked to hear that Steve Belichick is leaving Washington to be the defensive coordinator under his dad at North Carolina. He will stay on at the bowl game, though. I think that's the right thing. Jed Fish, has experience in the NFL, knows Bill Belichick, so I'm not surprised about that. But Louisville, on the flip side, they're going to go through a huge overhaul this offseason. Their quarterback, Tyler Shuck, has opted out. Their two wide receivers, Corey Brooks, Amari Huggins, Bruce the fifth, they're out. Defensive end and their cornerback. And you got a few other guys in the transfer portal, not necessarily huge game changers, but Don Chaney, the running back, Keon Brown, the running back, Benjamin Perry, safety / linebacker, who has the most snaps with 307, defensive tackle. So, there's a few different guys here. And Washington's got a ton in the transfer portal as well. Like they're starting left tackle and guard, linebacker, cornerback. They're going to UNC, kind of going around and seeing what's happening. But Will Rogers was benched, Tyson. They're going to go with Demond Williams, as a quarterback here. So that's something to note. Jonah Coleman saying he's playing the star running back. He's going to be back in 2025. That's huge to me.
Yeah, it's massive. I think if this was based on regular seasons, Louisville would crush them. But that's kind of the fun of bowl games. Like this line is at 2.5. What do you think it would be? Regular season Washington, regular season Louisville.
I think Louisville -7.
Yeah, it's going to be. It would have been somewhere like that. So we get to learn a little bit about these teams. I think Louisville probably has the firepower to just be able to hold off even with all these guys. But Washington's playing for a third straight winning season in a row, which was something before Brad and I were born. This program was super accustomed to, and it hasn't been great up until really last year was the resurgence. And if they can get 3 in a row, I mean that's a positive momentum thing in a Big Ten.
Offensively, Louisville's 19th in EPA per rush, 11th in EPA per dropback. They have another potent offense. It gets a defense in Washington 64th and 11th in rush EPA and dropback EPA. So without Tyler Shuck, you think that offensive passing attack for Louisville takes a step back. Not quite sure how it looks on both sides, really, because you got the opt-outs for Washington. But I think the star quarterback being out is huge. And on the flip side, Washington, 49th in EPA per rush, 35th in EPA per dropback. With the quarterback change, there are some question marks. You get a little bit more time to prepare. So you hope that the numbers increase or at least improve and are at the baseline. Louisville defensively, 21st in EPA per rush, 40th in EPA per dropback. So a solid defensive performance. So at times, we scratch our heads at these numbers because, are we sure that they're that good? So we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting matchup on paper, that's for sure.
Yeah, it would have been a lot more interesting like week 5.
Now, here is a banger. South Carolina versus Illinois. I mean, if you're ready, like bowl season, you want to get prepared for this stuff. In the Citrus Bowl, these guys are going to be playing. Like you got a couple people that are entering the portal for Illinois. Starting right guard, that's really the guy of note here. Zy Chrysler. They're still expecting him to play, Tyson, but he's just going to look for a new opportunity. Really, the only opt-out of note for Illinois is Pat Bryant, their star wide receiver. So that could be a huge impact here. But Bielema said no other opt-outs. At least they're not expecting right now. So we'll see what happens on that front. As far as South Carolina, only their backup QBs in the portal. That's pretty impressive because they're bringing in a ton of people. Now, they got some opt-outs. Rocket Sanders, your boy, I think he earned his name back. Kyle Kennard, their defensive end. Other than that, they got some opt-outs potentially, but it looks like they're going to play, man. And I think there's a lot of momentum around South Carolina. They really want this game.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina probably feels like they should have at least been more in the discussion to make the college football playoff at the end there. And then Illinois, same kind of lean as we had with BYU a week ago, where it was like, well, they're trying to put a stamp on one of the best seasons they've had in a long time, and they're getting a lot of talent back. So again, with that, positive momentum going into this thing, I don't know. Is Illinois a big enough program for Beamer and the boys to really just snipe, or is this one where they kind of sleepwalk through? They show up for the Oklahomas and the Bamas and all that stuff.
Right, because Illinois is not like the name brand thing, where you're like, all right, we got to get up for this one. Like if it was a Michigan or just throw, I'm not. Illinois probably doesn't do it, but I think it's just the fact that they want to win, right? It's like it feels like they're building something. Like you said, Beamer, he's confident, he's ready to roll. But Bielema, this is the one on the flip side. Bielema is like, well, why don't we prove that we're the guy? This is a chance. He was talking shit in the SEC. If they win this game, he's going to be feeling good. So profile-wise, this is where you got to look at it because South Carolina offensively 30th in EPA per rush, 26th in EPA per dropback against a defense that's 78th in EPA per rush, 36th in EPA per dropback, which is shocking to hear for an Illinois being that poor in the trenches. You know, you lose two of your best defensive tackles you've had in a long time at Illinois. That's going to have an impact, especially two guys who went to the NFL draft. On the flip side, Illinois, 51st in EPA per rush, 24th in EPA per dropback against a defense that's 12th and 7th. So South Carolina in the trenches, I think that's where they can win this football game. If they can dominate there, Illinois is going to want to play physical, have to play physical. But if they get pushed around, I just don't know if there's an avenue for them to win.
Yeah, and that blueprints on tape. That's what the big boys did to Illinois this year, and that's something South Carolina can't emulate.
Baylor, LSU, and the Texas Bowl, Tyson. This is December 31st, 3:30. Your boys, a lot of movement here. I mean, LSU's been one of the most active teams in the transfer portal. They got a ton of guys coming in. They got guys going out. Starting wide receiver, CJ Daniel. Starting safety, Sage Ryan. They gone. You got your tight end, defensive lineman, wide receiver, cornerback. You know, you got a ton of different guys, but here's really where you got to keep an eye, like the opt-outs. Left tackle, Will Campbell, right tackle, Emory Jones. Those are going to be potential first-round draft picks. Tight end, Mason Taylor, wide receiver, Kyron Lacey, safety, Major Burns. Like, those are 5 of the best players for LSU this past season. So that's something to note. On the flip side, Baylor, Corey Gordon, 376 snaps at safety. Trey Wilson, defensive end, he's already gone to SMU. Other than that, though, there's a couple guys who have rotated in, and no opt-outs. I mean, this is Dave Aranda saves his job. Dave Aranda gets the vote of confidence. It's kind of like with the Billy Napier thing in Florida. These guys want to play. These guys are confident. They're building something for 2025, and I think they love to beat LSU.
I think so for sure. I think Dave would love to beat LSU. This is a little bit of like he won the the Broyles Award as the top defensive coordinator in the country, and I think that they have the athletes to be able to score on this LSU defense with everybody in the portal or not. It wasn't a very good unit for long stretches of this season, and LSU kind of seems like they have an eye towards next year. Brian Kelly has been a demon so far picking up guys in the portal. They've lost some names, as you mentioned, but it certainly feels like maybe more infrastructure was put into the recruiting front than the bowl prep for LSU this year. So I think Baylor is live.
Yeah, I think somebody, I forget who exactly it was, but they said like 70% of their effort at this time of the season is roster retention and roster building for 2025, and like 30% was game prep. And it's like, if you're on the hot seat with Brian Kelly, I don't really know if he is, but the fans certainly are kind of coming at him, and the analysts. You're gonna be going after these guys. That's what they've been doing in the portal, to Tyson's point. So we'll see how everything looks. I'm just gonna throw these out because I think you get a baseline for Baylor. LSU is kind of a crapshoot. Offensively, Baylor 50th in EPA per rush, 34th in EPA per dropback against a defense on paper that's 45th and 18th in those metrics. Again, we'll see. We got opt-outs, we got transfer portal stuff. Offensively, LSU 28th EPA per rush, 12th EPA per dropback. I think the passing thing is going to take a hit, even though Nussmeier is going to play. I mean, you lose Kyron Lacey, you lose Mason Taylor. That's huge. And defensively, Baylor 38th in EPA per rush, 46th in EPA per dropback. So if you can find guys ready to step up and impact, even with the tackles gone, even with the playmakers, I think LSU can be able to put up some points.
Yeah, this one is going to be fun, at least. I don't know how good a football is going to be played, but it should be 65 points all the way around.
So after a couple days break here, we got Duke versus Ole Miss. It's the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. This is down in Jacksonville. So I think you're going to have to see a little bit of weather here, especially if you're interested in playing the over. I'm not quite sure what the weather is, but it can get a little windy. Duke's in an interesting spot, man. Like, they under Manny Diaz way overperformed. They're going for their 10th win this season. That'd be huge, right? Debut double digit for Manny Diaz. They have money all of a sudden that they're spending, apparently making Darian Mensah from Tulane the highest paid player in college football history, giving him $8 million. Like, where is this money coming from? But that also come with a cost for this game, because we already know Malik Murphy opted out, transferred. He's going to Auburn, so that's pretty interesting. So Henry Bell in the fourth, he's going to get the start. Now, starting running back Star Thomas is in the portal. Their backup quarterback, Grayson Loftus, he's in the portal. So, again, you got a third stringer here. That's something to keep an eye on. Haven't quite heard the word yet, but Jordan Moore, Chandler Rivers could potentially opt out. As we're recording here, they haven't. Manny Diaz thinks they're going to play. And on the flip side, Tyson, you got, as Ole Miss always does, people in the portal. They're starting corner, starting right tackle. Those are the big ones. Safety, Lewis Moore, he's gone as well. And you got some few opt-outs, right? Trey Harris, who was hurt, really. Juice Wells, that's a huge one. A few other guys in the portal that plan to play on the defensive side of things. And then Jackson Dart is going to play. This is going to be his last game. He already declared for the NFL draft, but he's going to play. I think he's going to try to win this game. So that's something to keep in mind for LSU backers.
Yeah,
Ole
absolutely. I
Miss
think if
backers,
you're
excuse me.
well, they're probably back in both. It's SEC or bust. I think that Duke would make that trade of the $8 million for some of these guys in the portal 7 days a week. So I don't know how concerned they are about this football game. And it also doesn't feel to me like Lane Kiffin cares all that much right now. I think he's more concerned with trolling the College Football Playoff Committee on Twitter. I think Jackson Dart playing is awesome for the sport of college football. But this game is going to be, we just kind of saw something similar with Oklahoma, where it was like, okay, let's see these guys as backups, and this Duke isn't, they're not quite Navy as far as like who they have coming back here. So maybe Ole Miss is going to be okay, but this one's going to be fun at least. So, like, could you imagine this guy, the third string quarterback, comes in and throws for 550 yards against an SEC opponent, and then you're looking around like, I spent $8 million on guys.
That's the thing, right? Well, and we saw it last year at a few different spots. I mean, Avery Johnson, Jackson Arnold, so that's Kansas State, Oklahoma, and then Dalen Gabriel got kicked out. Will Howard got kicked out, and they thought the grass was greener. Jackson Arnold in the portal, Avery Johnson underperformed. Like these Miller Moss, how about that? Replaces Caleb Williams.
A job.
Unbelievable. And so this is the time to make a name for yourself. But programs also kind of, they did it in the bowl game. We got to, it's interesting to note here. So defensively, I think. Or offensively, excuse me, I think Duke's going to have some problems, though. I mean, they're already 66 in EPA per rush, 76 in EPA per dropback, even with Malik Murphy there. Against an LSU defense, they're second in EPA per rush, 22nd in EPA per dropback. Something notable, Ole Miss defense was actually very solid this year compared to what they've been in the past. Offensively, 40th in EPA per rush for Ole Miss, first in EPA per dropback with Jackson Dart, even without Trey Harris. I think they're going to be able to move the football, although – Manny Diaz, we know he likes to blitz. We know kind of what he does. 25th in EPA per rush and EPA per dropback, but it should be noted, Tyson, Lane Kiffin went up against Manny Diaz's defense last year in the bowl game. And even though there were opt-outs on that side, Penn State's secondary was a little young and inexperienced, that thing was torched. So this will be something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got some stuff stored up. He's gonna go on his Ben Johnson, swag.
Oh, for sure. He's going to try to make a statement here. So that's the lone game on January 2nd, Tyson. We're going to move over to Friday, January 3rd in the First Responder Bowl, 4 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. We have North Texas, Texas State. This is like you want to talk about a spring game. This is crazy. Texas State in the transfer portal. They're starting running back, right tackle, starting cornerback, starting defensive tackle, both of them. Their backup defensive tackle who played almost as many snaps as the starters. And then you have a potential opt-out in their left guard. That's huge. Well, how about this? You think that's a lot? North Texas says hold my beer because their starting quarterback, Chandler Morris, is already committed to Virginia. They're starting wide receiver. It's in the portal, starting tight end, starting center. Their left guard, he's been injured, but he had almost 600 snaps. Another wide receiver who had 250 snaps. Their right tackle, safety, corner, wide receiver, 2 running backs. Like, this is a complete mess. And it's classic, right? This is what happens at the G5. You get these bowl games. You give them a later bowl game. They have to make up their minds, right? It's, we're going to go look for other opportunities elsewhere. And even though G.J. Kenny at Texas State got that extension, it's like, guys, we're G5. I'm going to go play in the big time.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be, this is one you can probably throw on mute. I don't think you need to know many of the names playing in this one. Just watch them go up and down the field. Brad and I have been on North Texas to score a bunch of points every week, and we can't even do it this week because it's just impossible.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, we'd love to do it for fun, but like we're trying to close out on a good note here. So we'll get into that a little bit here. And this is why. I mean, North Texas offensively 71st EPA per rush, 66 in EPA per dropback. Like, not great numbers. And if you watch North Texas at all, it's like, how are they putting up points? Because it's so home run or nothing. That's really their offense without Chandler Morris. Like, that offensive line already sucked, and I am not and he was running around and making plays. Without him, I'm not quite sure how this looks. Texas State defensively, 67th in EPA per rush, 49th in EPA per dropback. So again, we'll see here. This is where we'd be interested because Texas State's 85th in EPA per rush, 40th in EPA per dropback. And that was with their starting running back and the 2023 all-purpose freaking FBS leader in yards, and he's gone. It's just so now they're against the defense where Texas is 103rd and 102nd in EPA per rush and dropback. So that's not a good unit by any means, but there's just so many question marks. Honestly, Tyson, I think this is a live type of thing. Like, we would not want to lay or try to take the over and the 61 number when we have no clue who's suiting up. So I think if you can kind of get this number down to something a little bit more palatable, eventually I think the colors are going to shine through, but it could be a tightly contested game early.
Or the live's going to get up to like 92.5 points.
Maybe that's when you just are like, well, I'm going to throw a little pizza money and have some fun, or I'm just going to take the under and hate myself. There's no in between. Last game of the day on January 3rd is the Duke's Mayo Bowl, Minnesota versus Virginia Tech. We were kind of making a little tongue-in-cheek joke because, this is a classic PJ Fleck try-hard spot. And when you look at things here, starting right tackles in the portal, he already signed with Ohio State. That's pretty tough for them. Backup running back, that's okay. So it's really just one guy who's transferring out. Now, the opt-outs could be something to note. Now, this is a little bit later, so we're not quite sure. So, it's a question mark. Defensive end, their offensive tackle, sounds like he's not going to play based on the information right now. Their quarterback, we already know, Justin Wally, their star corner, he already declared for the draft. So that's a huge loss. And their defensive end and offensive guard. So we'll see what happens there. But Tyson, on the Virginia Tech side, starting left tackle, starting center, starting corner, starting safety, all in the portal. There are two linebackers who had almost 400 snaps and 300 snaps each. They're in the portal. The running back, defensive end, safety, and you got a few more opt-outs. We're kind of figuring out what's going on with Kyron Drones. Apparently, it doesn't sound like he's going to play. So it's either going to be Colin Schlee, if you remember him, who just, boy, or some guy named Pop Watson. So there is just a mess in Virginia Tech right now.
Give me as much Pop Watson in my life as you can. I don't know who he is. I wanted the ball. I think that guy needs to get into the game. This one is going to be fun. PJ is definitely going to go like – the suit is going to be pressed, like the whole outfit's going to be on 10. He's ready for the sideline interviews. He's probably going to bring an oar with him. So that whole thing's going to be fun. Virginia Tech, just another, if you could describe their season this year, it would just kind of be like this close. It just felt like over and over again, the Miami game, for instance, but you're watching a team with Kyron Drones preseason. You're like, this team can make some noise. It never quite materialized for them. And, it's not fair to play a game that nobody really cares about. You're after really the second round of college football playoffs here, and then you're going against the biggest tryhard in the sport.
It's a tough bill for Virginia Tech. Are they interested in playing this game? It doesn't seem like it. I don't know. Minnesota, 52nd EPA per rush, 62nd EPA per dropback. Not offensive numbers that jump off the page. So you're going to hope that they're going to be ready to play hard, and that's really what you're banking on. Defensively for Virginia Tech, 52nd in EPA per rush, 32nd in EPA per dropback. On the flip side, 26th in EPA per rush, 72nd EPA per dropback for Virginia Tech. With a backup quarterback, maybe Schlee can give him a boost because those aren't great numbers. But, man, Drones, it just didn't quite click. I agree with you. That was strange this year. We thought a lot of big things. Some people had Virginia Tech winning the conference. They were a popular pick. But Minnesota's defense is good, man. 33rd in EPA per rush, 8th in EPA per dropback. So I think that's something here with their guys ready to play hard that can help spur Minnesota to a victory.
I think so too.
Oh, Tyson, last game. I know you're celebrating this one because you're ready to be done with college football bowl season. The Bahamas
I'm ready to be done
Bowl.
with Liberty, brother.
That is true. Buffalo and Liberty. This is ending the college football bowl season. This is ending our Liberty infatuation because they were good a year ago and they sucked this year. So let's kind of go through this because really the ringleader of the poor performance I thought this year was quarterback Caden Salter. He's in the transfer portal. He already signed with Colorado, right? So, you don't have him there. There's some question marks. It's Ryan Berger who's going to get to start at quarterback. Tyson App State transfer. So, a guy who's the G5 guy kind of knows some stuff. But Salter's not the only one who's out. They're starting left guard, starting right tackle, starting left tackle, and they're starting defensive lineman. They're all in the portal. And then another guy who committed to Tulane who almost had 300 snaps on the season this year. So you got some guys turning over here on this Liberty roster. Not quite sure what the mindset is there. I mean, Jamie Chadwell feels like the guy just stayed in Coastal for too long, took this job weirdly, and now the shine is coming off that thing. So not quite sure. And on the flip side, Buffalo, this is a classic MAC program, man. I mean, some guys getting poached, but really nothing else. Their kicker was the only one committed to Texas Tech. Their wide receivers in the portal. And other than that, that's it. Nobody's opting out. You got a couple injuries. Man, I think Buffalo's going to try to make a statement here.
I'm sure they are. And Liberty, you and I could run for 150 yards probably without an offensive line against this Liberty team. If you would have told somebody from Liberty before the season that they would be playing in the last bowl game in the college football season, they would have thought you meant the national championship, not whatever, sponsorship this one is. It's been a crash and burn for them this season, which is super unfortunate. Some of their players are really fun and really good college football players, but it kind of feels like the last time we're going to see a lot of these guys play meaningful snaps. We'll see what happens with Salter at Colorado, but on the flip side, like, it'd be cool for Buffalo to win this game. I don't think that anybody is interested in playing a game this late in January. That doesn't really matter, Brad.
I agree, but I got to say, to go from Buffalo to the Bahamas at this time of year,
that's huge.
That's going to be a nice week for them. I'll tell you that. Now, we'll close out here. 97th EPA per rush, 123rd in EPA per dropback for Buffalo. Like, just so many question marks about what we're going to get in this game. Liberty, 95th in EPA per rush, 84th in EPA per dropback. On the flip side, Liberty, 57th in EPA per rush, 83rd in EPA per dropback. Got to scratch that. The offensive line gone. Starting star quarterback gone. We have no clue what to expect. I think they're going to lean on the run, especially because Buffalo's defense is 84th in EPA per rush, 90th in EPA per dropback. So, if you just can run the football, they already like to do that anyway. You get success, Tyson. This could just be the worst game that we can close out in the bowl season.
That's what we're hoping for. We want it sloppy.
Especially down in the Bahamas, there's like 6 people in the stands. It's a scrimmage.
Nobody
That's
cares.
What we're doing. Okay, well, we can't get out of here before we give out our picks. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is.
It's money-making time.
All right, Tyson missed out on a big payday in the fantasy football game, the fantasy football season. Unfortunately, I'm feeling for him. We're playing hurt, but we're gonna try to get it back here. I'm gonna start with a pick, and I have 2 in this game. I'm gonna go full game Alabama minus 14.5. That's minus 110 on FanDuel. I kind of laid it out. I think Alabama's motivated in this one. It's surprising that the people are playing who are like the big names like Jalen Milroe and some of the other guys, especially because they weren't recruited by Kalen DeBoer. So I think it says something that Kalen DeBoer's got these guys bought in. Like, a lot of people entered the portal when they came back to Alabama. A couple other guys are putting their names in the portal now. That's fine. They're not DeBoer guys. So the ones who are state, I think they're going to play hard. So I'm going to lay it with the full game here with Bama. I just don't know how they're going to stop that offense on the other side for Michigan. And I don't know how they move the football. There's just so many questions I have about Michigan. And if Bama comes in motivated, I think they're going to win this one big.
I hear all your concerns, and I agree with most of them, but I'm going with Michigan plus 14.5 because of grit, Brad. We just saw one team from Michigan show up and show out in a game that didn't really matter, that they didn't have to win. And you know what? The Wolverines are going to do the same thing. I think that Michigan can keep this thing within 2 touchdowns.
It's kind of fitting that we are going head-to-head on this stuff at the end of the season because we didn't do a lot this year. We did a lot the previous year. I got my teeth kicked in, so maybe you need to do that. You just need to challenge me next year. That's the thing.
I'm just going against you every single play.
Yeah. I'm gonna take I haven't done this a lot this year. I'm gonna take a first half market. I'm gonna lay Bama minus 7.5, minus 112 on DraftKings. Now, again, I'm taking the hooks on this. These are not wise numbers. I didn't want to pay this down. This is bull fun. Nobody's betting like tons of money, I don't think, on this when you're kind of understanding. But if this is my thing, if they do the Cam Ward deal or they play the first half and sit out, because we've seen that more and more in bowl season, I want to be on the side of Bama in the first half because I think that's maybe when they're going to go really, really hard and then Michigan could potentially backdoor them and Tyson wins that bet. But I think Alabama's going to get out to a fast start here, and they're going to want to make a statement and go out hard and perform fast. And maybe if their guys want to sit out, they got enough lead to win this game.
All right, you win one, I win one. We got a deal. Much like my BYU play last week, where a program I think it just means a little bit more to. I'm going, give me Washington money line here in this game. It's plus 100 on MGM. Yes, backup quarterback, backup everybody for everybody. That's where we're at in this bowl season. And I think that Washington gets it done. I think that they win this game. They put a stamp on 3 in a row, and the program keeps building.
I'm in agreement with you. Washington money line for me as well. For what you just said, plus Jed Fish, with more time, the offense is going to look better. We know that they need just a little bit extra. The depth was hurt when the head coaching changes. That's what happens in year one. But he's starting to get some portal additions. I think a statement here, this win would be huge for the program. A nice go in the right direction. Plus, Tyson, we're getting a good number here on MGM. I think it's going to flip to a favorite eventually. And so, let's get this good number.
Well, I hope so. We haven't gotten much COV on the show this season, so it would be pretty funny to do it at the end of the year. I'm going with under 42.5, Minnesota, Virginia Tech. This we talked about it. I think that minus 7.5 is a little scary there, and minus 300 is not something I'm interested in at bowl season. So what if Minnesota, they just come out and play defense, and Virginia Tech decides they don't want to be here? A little bit of although the Nebraska game got really sweaty last week on that under that. So hopefully it's more comfortable than that one here, but I think that will be okay.
Well, only because that block punt, or else you would have been rocking chair under it. So, that was a great call. I had that regret when I was watching. I'm like, God, what am I doing? That is so a rocking chair play. Tyson, my last one, Ole Miss minus 17, minus 110 on DraftKings. It would not be a bowl season without me putting money on Lane Kiffin, either being very happy or very disappointed because I can't figure out that guy because he's hot or cold, if he cares or not. I think they're going to care in this one. He loves Jackson Dart. I didn't think he would love a quarterback as much as Matt Corral, and Jackson Dart fell in his lap, and I think he might love him more than Matt Corral. So, this is a little bromance I got going on here. He wants to send them off right. This would be a great statement. You just pound Duke. You get, everybody's kissing babies, showing off for the fans. You can claim, see, we should have been in after all the college football playoff. So I think that's what they're going to do here. They're going to lay the wood, and I think we're going to get a good number. Let's go Ole Miss, this minus 17. We're not playing around with the hook. This is great by DraftKings, so get this in now.
And try to find an offshore book where you can bet how many times Lane Kiffin's going to tweet during the game, because I think it might be over 0.5.
That would be just at halftime. He just goes up, just parades everybody.
Boise State should never have been in.
Right. Just starts ripping everybody apart. Goes after Georgia and Kirby.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this show. Now, as you can see, there wasn't a ton. I mean, there's question marks later here. I mean, you got portal more impact, but Tyson, live stuff. If we get some information, where can they find the rest of our picks if we have them?
In the Discord app, group name, as I said what I said, link is in the bio. Brad mentioned it. Tons of different stuff in there. We had some people commiserating or celebrating at the end of the game tonight with the way that thing shook out. So tons of different channels, whatever you can think of. We're playing as this college football season and the NFL kind of wind down. We'll get more into college basketball and the NBA, but those are talked about every day in the Discord. So do yourself a favor, get in there.
Absolutely. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and share the show. We got a ton of content coming out for you guys. As Tyson said, we're going to start shifting into basketball, shifting into draft stuff. That's just our calendar here. But we got you covered for the rest of the CFP. We got you covered for the rest of the NFL and the NFL playoffs. We got the breakdown coming for the CFP. It's going to be coming rapid. That's why I got to say subscribe. Smash that like button on the way out. Therefore, you don't miss a single thing. You're interacting with us. We do appreciate the support. We'll be back later breaking down everything we're seeing in the second round of the college football playoff and giving out some more picks on that front. So we'll speak to you guys then. Peace.